everyone, welcome to MomTalks on this Friday afternoon. Or Friday morning still. We are coming to you live from Parkview Tower. This is the home of the Women and Infant Center, which is where all Barnes Jewish patients will come to deliver their babies. It's also a connection to St. Louis Children's Hospital, which is our NICU area. So we're going to take you on a tour of, this is almost, let's say, a year-and-a-half old building right now. So we're going to be taking you on a tour to show you pregnant moms out there where you're going to be coming, where you're going to be stopping, where you're going to be staying with your baby, and just we're going to answer your questions along the way. And so hopefully we'll make this building more familiar to you so you're ready when it's time to go. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got Katie and Dr. Strand with me, and we're going to just start our tour over this way. So Katie, when we first come in here, this is our very first stop. This is the Women's Assessment Center. So this is where you come right away whenever you are in labor. So we're going to take a pan over this way and just take a look at what we're looking at here. We've got the desk here. This is where you're going to stop and say, "Hi, I'm in labor," and let's kind of get the process going. And we're going to get looked at by the staff here to see if this is really the time. So let's go.
Yep, we'll talk about it a little bit more in the room.
So welcome to our first stop. This is the Women's Assessment Center. And can you tell me a little bit about, so you come in, you say, "I'm in labor," and they bring you back here. Then what?
Technically, you can come in for a lot of different things other than labor. So when we have our patients call and say, I've got, bleeding or cramping, and there's things like that that we can't assess over the phone, this is where we send them. Okay, so they will assess you and call one of the physicians, whoever's on call, and let them know what's going on, or they may come over and see you here, but they'll put you on the monitor. They may do an ultrasound. We have a room specialized just for ultrasounds for patients. And then they may do some blood work, send that off, do a lot of quick assessments, like the ER for pregnant patients.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. So when you have really anytime during the pregnancy you have any complaint, oftentimes during the day we'll bring you into the office so that you can see us in the office setting, but particularly on nights or weekends if somebody needs to be evaluated, really at any time during their pregnancy, we're able to bring them here, which is really nice because then that allows us to bypass the emergency room. So people can come directly here, and whether they think they may have broken their water or be in labor, or problems in early pregnancy like cramping or nausea, things of that sort, we can always divert people here and see them, and usually a setting that's a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more efficient.
So yeah, I think that's a common misconception that you should only come here like at third trimester labor, 39, 40 weeks, but you can come here at any point if you're concerned about something that's going on with your pregnancy, as opposed to heading to the emergency room.
Exactly.
Correct.
So we have an amazing emergency room, but we are better equipped up here for moms who are pregnant to quickly see them and maybe get them out, and so that they're not being triaged at a little bit slower of a pace down there.
So let's say that you're coming in and you believe you are in labor, and time to kind of get going. So how long will you be in here, and what will be going on?
I guess it depends on which stage of labor you're in.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a continuum.
Yeah.
Wow.
Depends if you're early or late.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, typically speaking, we're built to move people very quickly. So if somebody comes in and they're in advanced labor, then obviously we would move them very quickly to labor and delivery. If it's a little bit more in the early process and we're trying to decide if somebody truly is in labor or maybe it's false labor and it may be too early for admission, they'll come here. Our nursing staff and physician staff will check them in, we'll evaluate them. Sometimes if it's early, they may walk a little bit, for an hour or so, and then come back and be re-examined to see if they've made any progress before making a decision about whether or not they get admitted or whether they would go home.
Sure, and I think it's worth noting that there's that kind of that long hallway not too far from here, so pregnant women can come and they can walk a little more privately, and
labor privately.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they can walk, they can come back here. So say that they already kind of establish you're in active labor. Stay in here and be evaluated for just a little bit longer before heading out to labor and delivery?
So typically we'll put an IV in, keep you on the monitor, see how the baby looks, call the physician, and then once we get a bed, we're moving to labor.
Okay, so that means we're moving on as well. So let's keep going. Just a reminder, we are taking questions. So if you have any questions for Dr. Strand or for Katie, please go ahead, let us know. This facility, like I said, they're kind of leading me. It can be big, and so we just want to make sure you're comfortable when you come here and that you know where you're going to be going and what you're going to be doing. So when patients are even on labor, they are allowed to walk a lot of times, or kind of work through that early part of labor. So a lot of our halls are just kind of long open halls, so patients can walk or use, some of them have like the bars and things like that. So you'll kind of see that as we go. Okay, so you'll be paying attention. You know, like I said, these hallways are, she was saying the hallways are very wide. There's a lot of amenities. It's also very quiet up here. You'll always notice that when you're up here, it's quiet. Labor and delivery also has like two sides to their hall. Just because you're on one side or the other doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's just a different view, but you're still going to get the same type of room, same type of amenities, that kind of thing. So because the room we're going to is where it is doesn't mean that's exactly what you get because of that. I think that's always worth noting. Welcome to labor. And this is where the magic happens.
That's right.
So this is one of the labor and delivery rooms. So again, you're likely going to be here for a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, I guess let's go through the process. So what all happens in here?
So I think, so these rooms are built for, I mean, most women are coming here to have their babies. Certainly we may have women here who aren't in the process of having their babies, but maybe they have a medical complication or something else going on in pregnancy where they need to be admitted, but not necessarily because we're looking for them to have their babies. In most circumstances though, if you're here in labor, then you'll come here, the nurse will check you in. We have a lot of equipment that is used in many patients, but not in all patients. And then we have a lot of opportunities for people to do things that sort of fit what they need. So for instance, this is one of our rooms that has a labor tub. So this is a tub that is built for women to come in, and then we can do intermittent monitoring where they don't have to be on the monitor all the time. Can come in, sit in the tub, which is a very effective mechanism for to obtain pain relief. So if somebody's trying to go natural and maybe doesn't want to have an epidural, they can use the tub to labor in, and then we only would get them out when it's time to actually have the baby. Other folks, might get an epidural, it might be more within their bed. We have all sorts of different things that we'll use in terms of balls people may sit on, balls that may go between the baby's legs, or between the patient's legs, sorry.
Yes.
To kind of help mom with certain positioning and help her throughout the labor process.
And then we have this separate area over here for the baby. Now, not all babies need to go straight over to a warmer. We try really hard to get babies right to mom, but sometimes they need this quick assessment. So this area is just for the babies, but still leaves us all this room for moms in the early part of labor. But yeah, that way they can kind of see their babies, so it's kind of nice.
Cool.
And then over here you'll see we have everything hidden, so your labor cart and things like that aren't out for anybody to touch or play with, but you also have this nice big TV. You can watch all kinds of movies and TV. It's kind of nice.
Well, if labor is going slow,
I have
hop on a
patients
movie.
that, they're like, I'm watching a movie. What would you like to watch? And then all of our bedside tables have these little kind of iPad type things, and you can order your food. You can play games. They all have the little chargers for their phone. All you gotta do is hook it in, so then you're not leaving your charger.
Sounds good. Mm-hmm. So while you're here in the labor and delivery room, because obviously there's a lot of action going on, for one, I guess everybody would want to know who is allowed to be in here with you. How many visitors or supports people are you allowed to have in here with you?
Yeah, so we don't actually limit the traffic through the room, so that's a very patient-dependent request. So some people are a little bit more private, and some people it's much more of a family event. And obviously babies come 24/7, so we understand that people are going to be coming in and out of the room. It might be 2 p.m., it might be 2 a.m. The only restriction really that we have is that any minor under the age of 18 has to be accompanied by a responsible adult, because obviously the patient can't be responsible for that minor while they are in labor. But otherwise, we're quite flexible.
Sure. I see that we have a question.
Yeah, one of our viewers is wanting to know how many doctors and nurses are usually in the room during labor and delivery.
Okay, so yeah, that's true. There's a lot of people that come in and out between pain relief to the actual labor to being here for the baby. Yeah, who all will we see in here?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So many of the physicians here work with our medical school and our residency training program. So we have both learners on the student and then the physician level who are often here and participating in someone's care. We actually like that because I think it gives you a few extra people who are also looking after you. Typically when it comes to delivery, there'll be your primary nurse and then usually a second nurse who might be there to help with the baby. Sometimes we'll have some additional pediatric staff who will come, but usually that's only if there's a particular concern about how the baby's been doing. And then usually your physician will be there with one of our residents or medical students as well, obviously assuming that that is okay with you. I mean, we're certainly going to meet the patient with where they are. If they have particular desires about the team that they want in there, then we're going to respect their wishes.
Okay, and I noticed that on the back of this right here, there's a board back here that you will see that, just kind of lays out some of, the particulars for maybe, what the patient is looking for in their care plan, or just what they have in mind for the delivery or for afterwards. So Katie, can you tell us a little bit about what's all on here?
Yeah. So they took a couple of different ideas and combined it into one, or so patients are a little bit more interactive in their care, because before it was like the nurse would be at the computer kind of filling it out, and that didn't get relayed. So now we do it, not only are we informing them who all is on, but like what is important to them. So when anybody comes in, everybody's on the same page. So if Dr. Strand walks in and I say, doesn't want an epidural, he doesn't walk in and go, are you ready for your epidural? It's so that everybody's on the same page. It's kind of nice too that you can call the baby by their name rather than being like it or she or he. And so patients like that, it just makes them feel like they're more interactive. And this is also really good for our patients that are going a little bit more natural. There's less communication of kind of distracting them from breathing through and getting through their contractions. They can kind of just use this to guide us. Also, this works really well too for our non-English speaking patients, so that they can interact a little bit with it too.
Absolutely. Makes it very easy. So one thing I wanted to know is, so you come into this room, you have the baby, make it sound very easy, but we have the baby, and then baby is here with mom. So what happens in those few minutes directly after the baby is born? Sorry.
Go ahead.
So babies go right to mom's chest is our goal, because we like to dry them off and then put them skin to skin, because we know skin to skin is so amazing for them, and it's great for moms and dads. Like, you've done a lot of. I'm using Kendra as the example because she's about to do this again. So
sometime I'll be here for real.
Yeah.
So
you've done all of this hard work, and then you push a baby out, or if you have a C-section, it's still a ton of work. So our goal is for you guys just to snuggle up. It's really good for the baby's heart rate, their temperature, just helps them acclimate. And then if moms are breastfeeding, it's a great way just to kind of transition baby into that position. Then usually moms are like, okay, I just need a moment, maybe get a drink of water or something, and the dads will snuggle up. So it's kind of nice.
No, I do think it's very different. If you think about, many years ago when, typically speaking, the mom would have the baby and the baby would get whisked off to the warmer, and then they would get their immunizations and dried off and a bath and all that. Really, most of that is delayed. So that first hour after delivery is almost always, depending on the mom's wishes, exclusively skin to skin with mom. They'll eventually get their immunizations, they'll eventually get their bath, all that stuff can happen. But we really try to prioritize that initial time for the mom and the baby, and the dad and the baby to spend together.
The bath doesn't happen for the first 8 to 24 hours because they have those natural microbes that sit on their skin, makes their skin softer, and we're coming out of flu season, thank goodness, but kind of helps prevent those illnesses too, so that's never a bad thing.
So one other thing I wanted to ask is, so say everything has gone well, baby's here, baby's healthy, how much longer will you stay in this room before you move upstairs, which we're about to show you?
Yeah, so usually it's about a couple of hours, and that's true for people who have, a vaginal delivery, or if they have either a planned or unexpected cesarean delivery. So usually you're here for a couple hours, bonding with the baby, and then also just making sure your initial recovery from the delivery is going okay, bleeding is all right, blood pressure's fine, mom is feeling okay. If they had an epidural, we'll take that out down here so that she can gain her feeling back. And then usually if everything is stable, then they'll go upstairs one floor for the rest of their hospital stay.
Okay, now one thing I do want to point out is that this room is for natural vaginal deliveries. You will move if you have to have a C-section planned or unplanned.
Yes.
That is correct. So there's an operating suite right down the hall.
Okay.
So if something were to happen during the labor process that a cesarean was needed, then we would take the patient down the hall. Typically speaking, that is a little more restrictive, so they can have one family member in there because obviously we need to maintain that clean and sterile environment. So usually, you know, the dad or a family member will go back with mom. We do still support skin to skin, you know, so after the baby's out, even while we might be finishing the surgery, mom can still have the baby up on her chest if she's feeling well. And then most cesarean sections, I would say, take about an hour, and then you're right back into the room where you started.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't go to a separate room for recovery. So, you know, like if you have a OR case down like in the main OR or something like that, you go to a room where there may be a curtain and some other people. This is not like that on labor and delivery. You go back to your room.
And I was going to say, all rooms here are private.
Yes.
So
Correct.
that's
Let's
one
head
great
towards
thing.
the OR so we can kind of see where we were talking about a little
absolutely,
bit.
let's do that.
But yes, they are private. Even the mother baby floor we're going to go to, besides sharing with your baby and your spouse, yes, it's private.
Yeah, and I also want to point out it's baby friendly, so baby
Yes.
stays with you the whole time. We just have to point out and do some love to our camera guy who is walking backwards. He's a rock star, so not everybody can do that. I am going to make sure you don't hit the wet floor sign. We don't need another patient because he can't. I don't think he can stay here.
No, no offense, we don't treat men unless you're a baby.
Okay, so we are going to be stopping right here at the OR room.
Yeah, so this is just the entry to the OR, so very close to the laboring rooms. You know, obviously purposely so that we can make quick decisions for patients if we need to. But then as Katie said, once you're finished in there, you go right back to the same room you came from, so you don't have to move your things or move different rooms.
You can just
and then you'll
concentrate.
have your 2-hour recovery there before you go upstairs.
We have 3 large ORs. I mean, we can't really go in and see because we're not dressed appropriately for that, but they're state of the art. We have screens in there sometimes that if we're able to, we're allowed, or we can let mom see actually their babies be born, which is kind of nice. And they also have the screen set up so if baby does have to go to the warmer, it's like right there. So they're seeing their babies like, it's like right above their head. So it's really nice.
So there are situations in both a vaginal delivery or a cesarean delivery where baby might need to go to the NICU. And again, the Women and Infant Center is a partnership between Washington University Physicians, Barnes-Jewish Hospital, and St. Louis Children's. So we're going to be showing you just how convenient it is for moms and babies to stay nearby and while their baby perhaps need to go to the NICU. So we have you'll have to tell me how many 100-foot bridge?
Oh.
Joe?
It's less than a football field.
Less
if I
than a
remember
football field, okay, that
correctly,
helps.
I don't remember the footage, sorry.
No, that's something I should have looked up.
No,
too.
you're fine. It's
So-
short. You're going to be like, oh my. So it actually, I think this is a good time to point out too, it comes off our operating room. So if babies are a planned delivery that need to go straight over to children's, they can do that straight from the OR or come straight from labor and delivery. So now we can look at the bridge a
Sure,
little bit.
we'll come on in through the ridge. And so just to give you an idea of where we are, we have Parkview Place right behind us. Kings Highway is this way, and Forest Park. And so just to give you a little idea of where in St. Louis we are. So this bridge connects directly from Parkview Tower to St. Louis Children's Hospital, 5th floor, which is the NICU. So can we talk a little bit about why is that so important?
Well, I think it's really nice, you know, in many situations, moms and babies may be separated a significant amount, even, you know, being in different buildings, being miles away, potentially, depending on where the most advanced baby care is compared to where the mom is going to spend the rest of her hospital stay. So this was one of the really nice things about this new program in this new building was connecting these two institutions so closely. We know that even in a low-risk pregnancy, statistically, about 8 to 10% of those babies will actually need to go to the NICU for some amount of time, whether it be for respiratory support, feeding difficulties, or just monitoring for their initial transition. So it's something that more people need than they necessarily think of when they're going through labor and delivery. So it's nice that they're so close. It's very close proximity, very easy for the patients to navigate back and forth to see their babies. You know, if you're separated by a building or separated by a car ride, that can be very difficult and stressful for a family.
So one thing I also want to point out is that the distance is so short that, you know, should heaven forbid there's an emergency, baby can get over to the NICU in a matter of seconds.
And the NICU team can get here
Yes,
in a matter of minutes,
absolutely.
which
That's
is great.
exactly right.
So one question is, if a baby goes to the NICU, how often can mom come stay, come visit, and bond with baby while they're in the NICU?
Yeah, so they are quite flexible in bringing moms over because, just like we prioritize skin to skin on labor and delivery, we want to prioritize that bonding for them in the NICU as well. So really there aren't a lot of limitations for when they're there. That team, the medical team rounds, and so oftentimes moms or dads will be over there to listen to what's going on there, but they're very, very accommodating in terms of making sure moms and babies can be together.
They like to try to get them skin to skin and pumping and things like that over there too. So it's a wonderful partnership.
And it really speaks to the collaboration again between labor and delivery and the NICU, taking care of both mothers and babies. So we're going to go ahead and go upstairs. We're going to go to floor 6, which is where after labor and delivery, and assuming everything goes okay, you'll be moved up there to complete the rest of your hospital stay. We'll let you both lead the way.
Let's go this way.
They know I get lost up here.
Gotta follow, too bad the floor is not colored.
You know what?
Like over in the...
sometimes I think having arrows might be a good idea.
And so that was kind of the benefit of the bridge for moms too, because we talk about even distance. So for now, you're going to see how we just go right up to 6, and so that's mother baby. When those moms come down, they go there and they walk right over. Before they were walking from the South Campus over a bridge, then up an elevator to the 5th floor of the NICU. So sometimes it could take 20 minutes, if that. I mean, it was a long
And if you're
haul.
a mom, a new mom who's recovering, you might not be in the best state of physical shape or ability.
Right.
to
And
be able to make
you got to find somebody to push your wheelchair. Yeah.
And I just wanted to point out again where we are. This is a walkway for expectant mothers who might be in early stages of labor to come and to be able to walk for a while if it's not quite time yet, and do some work with, to work on getting labor going. So we're gonna head out this way.
I should say too, because we're kind of walking through, we have badge access, so we're able to kind of make things open while we're on here. Patients can't just make doors open, or families can't. Our units are locked so that babies are safe.
All right, come on in. We're gonna wait for the rest of our team. They're chasing us around.
But yeah, so you can't get on the elevator with a baby, it'll alarm. You can't get near the doorways with a baby, it will alarm. Anything else that'll alarm?
No, so there are dedicated elevators from the 1st floor to bring patients and their families up that go just to floors 5 and 6. And we do have security downstairs to make sure that both moms and babies are safe.
We just want to point out that when you come into Parkview Tower, hopefully the elevator doesn't shut on me in the process, we do want to point out that there is security specifically for women and infants, so they will come and make sure that you understand where you're going, they can get visitors signed in, everything like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, the parking is so easy. You just park in the underground. There's laboring mom parking. And then the elevator just puts you on the main lobby, out in the main lobby. And then there's 2 elevators, and you just take the women and infants. It's just so easy.
Yeah, you just look for the robin egg blue with the
Yeah,
women and infant logo. It's so easy. And also wanted to point out that we do host tours of this building for moms and dads and whoever else wants to
Family
come.
members, they can bring
family
their
members.
if you have kids and you'd like to bring them.
Sure. So that way, if you want to come in person and take a look at what's going on and where you'll be, so you just get a better sense of what's going to be happening that day. So, I'm sorry. We knew that was going to happen once. So you were able to come in and do that. So when you get here, you're, like I said, a little more acclimated, know a little bit more about where to park, what elevator to take, who to stop and see, and everything like that before you get up to, like I said, our first stop, which was the Women's Assessment Center. So we're now on floor 6, and this is mother and baby. So this
Mother
is where
and baby.
Mother and baby. So this is recovery.
That's right. So we're going to go just around here and then on to the other side where we have an empty room.
Yeah, moms, when they're recovering, really don't want to be on YouTube Live, right? Or Facebook Live.
Yes.
So we're going to go to room 1.
Should also point out, on labor, and I think a lot of the rooms up here do have very natural light. They face the outside, the parks, or the, we'll see up here we have the garden. So that's really nice too. It just
nice garden
makes
room.
it very serene.
Serene's a good word for it.
Especially after having a baby, you're wanting to snuggle up your baby and just have some quiet time.
Okay, so here we are. We've made it. So I just want to point out just again, this room is very serene, very quiet. If you walk around, you just see. I personally enjoy looking at the artwork here. It's just so beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about, for starters, let's remind everybody, when will we get here?
So about 2 hours after delivery, doesn't matter what time of day you deliver, you get moved up to what we call the mother-baby floor, where you're just going to learn your baby's going to kind of learn you. You'll see lactation nurses if you're planning to breastfeed. You just get a lot of one-on-one and kind of start learning a new normal.
Okay, sounds good. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the amenities of the room. I see once again we've got the TV screen.
Oh yes, because I really like that. And then you have a crib for baby. And so the cribs will, and you know, a lot of times babies are with moms and being held, but it's always nice. You have like your extra supplies in here. They push really nice. That's really easy, especially if for some reason baby does need to go. And then everybody always asks me about the pumps. All of our rooms have a breast pump in them, so moms are able to start pumping. Let's say they're away from their baby. Their baby had to go to the NICU. Our goal is to try to get moms still either breastfeeding or pumping within that first hour, so it's nice to have the pumps up here.
One of the nice things about the TV system too, in terms of like all the entertainment aspects and the movies and that, is that the staff are recognized by the TV. So let's say your nurse comes in, then her name and picture will show up on the TV. Or let's say a nurse that you weren't familiar with is covering, you know, you kind of always know everybody's name who's taking care of you, because that will always be displayed when folks walk into the room, which is nice for patients to know who they're talking to.
And also just for a safety aspect,
Yes.
you know,
Exactly.
all right, this person has been cleared. I know that they are allowed to look at my baby, hold my baby, things of that nature. And I remember that most staff that work up here have pink badges.
I was just going to say that all women
So-
and infant staff, I didn't bring mine up, have pink badges. Do you hear some pictures?
No.
No. They're like a light, just a very light pink, and that's also a safety measure.
So like the nurses, the techs, they'll all have a pink badge.
And so I noticed the garden out here. So are you allowed to view that, go out, anything of that nature?
So there is a walkway that, I don't think you can access this particular part of the garden, but there is actually an outside on the rooftop walk through the garden that you can take. So patients who are either admitted, you know, for pregnancy complications where they're just waiting to have their baby can enjoy that. Women up here on the postpartum floor can enjoy that. It's obviously sort of a secured space, but it's actually very nice. Much like what you see outside, you know, a lot of different plants, and you know, later this spring and in the summertime, a lot of flowers blooming. So it's a nice, serene place to spend a
It's
little
pretty
bit
even
of
in
time.
the winter because they have the lights out there, and it's really pretty.
Not
It does have a
bad.
nice, for safety measures, just so people don't just have a gate or a fence up, so you're not going to go off the side of Parkview Tower. But it is, any time of year, it's really pretty out there, just because they have really nice lighting in the evening, even if you're in labor. So some of the labor rooms have a similar kind of look, and they'll have these really pretty lights that are solar lights, so that you're still kind of getting that outside aspect in there. So it's really nice.
So bright here. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, this is the room where everybody's going to want to come meet the baby. So
So we have lots of room in here too. I think that's
Sure.
nice. So people always ask, like, where is my spouse or my partner or somebody going to sleep?
Sure.
So these kind of couch beds do fold out. Okay, so depends really on how tall you are. And then the recliners also almost fold almost straight back. So if you are taller, you may want to use one of those. But I am not going to try to break this down today. But it also goes this way, and you can make it kind of a longer couch, so that if you do have a lot of people here, they can all sit.
So let's talk about how many people are allowed in here. Can the new siblings come? Can grandma come? Who all can come? Is there a limit on how many people who can come?
So really there is no official limit. And so, you know, if you are a family member or a friend and you're visiting a patient here, we'll allow virtually anybody to come up. Certainly, again, siblings are more than welcome, and I would say siblings almost always come to visit with their, you know, with their new baby, because everybody's very, very excited. So, you know, I think that's, again, much more at the patient's discretion in terms of what they're comfortable with. Some people very, you know, big groups and public
Come on
celebrations, and other
in.
folks are a little bit more private, so we really let the patient drive that decision.
Okay. So how long will you be here before you're discharged?
So I think it depends a little bit on the type of delivery and whether or not there have been any issues along the way. So for a mom who has a relatively routine vaginal delivery, most people will stay, you know, roughly 2 nights. So leaving, you know, 2 days later in 48 hours. It doesn't have to be exactly 48 hours. So if you delivered at 5 p.m., oftentimes people leave at lunchtime, and that's totally fine. For a cesarean delivery, it can be a little bit different. I would say most of the time that will add at least a day to your hospital stay. So the vast majority of people will end up going home probably on day 3. And then some folks will stay till day 4. It just depends a little bit on how their recovery is going.
And too, how their baby is doing. You know, babies sometimes, you know, take a little time to transition to the outside world.
Sure.
And so just that whole process, sometimes they'll stay that extra day for the baby.
And you said lactation will come in. Who else will be coming through to just look in on you, look in on baby while you're here?
So lactation is a key. They see you while you're here. They're here every day of the week. They're not here at night. So even holidays, weekends, that kind of thing. You'll have birth certificates. You'll have, because that's kind of important. One thing to point out, they don't usually make mom do much because, you know, you just had a baby, but dads need an ID, or the partner, whoever's going to be on the birth certificate, does need an ID.
Okay.
I don't remember who else.
I believe a pediatrician will come by.
The pediatrician.
Yes.
So they do the assessment. So this crib is helpful for that pediatrician assessment. They'll put them in here. I would say they have some of their equipment, and I think it's hidden. So they can just quickly assess the baby, go over how the baby's doing with you. So if you're using one of the local groups, they will come and see their own babies. If not, the pediatricians from Children's do round every day on those babies. They come by, they do that assessment, let moms and dads know how they're doing too. So it's kind of nice because you can ask questions. You can be like, is this normal? Is this not normal? So they can kind of help you with that part. And they'll teach you how to do the bath, because again, that bath is done 8 to 24 hours after delivery in the room. So if you've never held a baby or you've never given a baby a bath, you can be like, okay, show me how to do that. How do I wash the hair? How, you know, those are things that, yes, right? Like that first time you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to burn them. I don't want to drop them. They're slippery. Yeah, they will help you with that part. So it's kind of nice.
And it is much more, I think, you know, much like with, you know, skin to skin and early breastfeeding, you know, the whole design is much more patient-centric, I think. So as opposed to years gone by where the baby would often be missing in the nursery, most everything done with the baby is done in the room. So pediatricians will often come into the room, see the baby, examine the baby in here, talk with you while you're in your room, to really avoid that separation between the family and the baby.
Because they used to just bring baby to feed, right? Like they'd be like, Mom, babe's hungry. And they're like, pediatricians have already checked them out. We've done the bath. We've changed their diaper. And then you're like, then you go home with the baby and you're like, I don't know how to take care of it. I didn't see it for 2 days. So it is kind of nice.
New moms like this if you feel me here, but you remember, you remember that, you know, the nurse finally leaves and you're in the room with the baby. You're like, wait, where are you going?
It cries. You're like, what cry is that? That's the benefit of that rooming in. You start to kind of learn them. You're not going to learn everything in 2 days, but you know how you attune to your own baby, and that does help.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just go ahead and wrap things up while we're here at the Mother and Baby. We want to thank you for joining us here on at Parkview Tower at the Women and Infant Center. Next week, we're going to have our final episode about pregnancy, and we're going to be talking about siblings. I myself have an almost 2-year-old who will be a big sister soon, and so those are the questions that I will be asking selfishly is, how do I get my toddler ready when the baby is here? How do we get everybody acclimated? How do I make sure big brother or big sister is still feeling loved? But on the flip side, you know, that they understand now they've got to share mom and dad. So we're going to be going through all of those questions. That will be next Friday at 11 right here on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.